The hardest places to be in a relationship is not knowing whether to stay or to leave. That's what this is. One of the hardest, most stressful. You lose a lot of sleep. It's difficult, especially if you have a lot on the line. Not just your emotional investment, but if you've built a life around a person or with a person. If y'all got kids together, maybe you're married, maybe you were headed towards marriage, maybe a lot of years together, whatever the case may be. And a lot of times we talk about when you need to give up on a dude. Just completely walk away. And there are instances where you have to. I'm a big believer that there are situations that arise where you got to save yourself and stop trying to save the relationship, even the relationship or the marriage, because it ain't helping nobody. But there are some instances where I believe it's worth the fight. And for women that are in a situation where you're trying to decide whether or not you should continue with this guy or whether or not you should walk the other way. First thing I'm going to say is this. It starts with you and what you want. Don't let anybody convince you that because of any type of metric or any type of qualifier, somebody is entitled to continued access to you. Even if they didn't do anything wrong, but especially when they've done something wrong, you don't owe anybody continued access as a byproduct of accepting their apology, as a byproduct of forgiving them for something that they did wrong. But there are situations where if you want that relationship to work, it makes sense to give that particular dude another shot. It makes sense to continue seeing and evaluating what he does next. Before we get into that though, first off, let me make sure you guys can hear and see me clearly. If you can hear and you can see me clearly right now, let me know by putting your city and state down in the comments. Put your city, put your state down in the comments if you can hear and you can see me clearly right now. For a few seconds, we're going to do this mic check, then we're going to get on with the topic. Or give me a thumbs up. Give me a like, a heart, or something to let me know that you guys can hear and see me clear. All right, I see them coming in. So this topic in particular was motivated by one of my self-crowned VIP members, my private mentorship community. And she was basically in a situation where she's not sure what to do. She's pregnant. This dude is kind of throwing some red flags. Now, in her situation, it really ain't safe to move on. But we've covered that quite a bit. So let me tell you, when you are trying to decide whether or not to go forward with a guy, the last thing you want to do is base it on the fact that y'all been together a long time. History alone cannot justify or validate you continuing to ruin your future. You understand what I'm saying? History alone, the past, the years, we done spent a lot of time together. That is not a reason to continue wasting even more time together. But if you're with a guy, and here's one of the first ways that you know, at least things that I would say, it's safe to go forward and safe to keep trying with this guy, like you shouldn't give up on him. Here's how you know it's worth a shot, beyond just you wanting it, really, really wanting it, is if he's willing to be truly accountable for what he did, regardless of what was going on at that time. If whenever y'all get into conversations, he just strictly points to, well, my goldfish died. Well, you made me mad. Well, you did this, or I was depressed, or I had anxiety. And that's where the conversation ends. It's not safe to go forward. At absolute best, he's still dismissing the impact of his actions. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. We don't face consequences based on our intentions. We face consequences based on our actions. Why? Because at the end of our actions is a particular impact, no matter what motivated the actions. And we all have free will. So unless a gun was placed at this guy's head, he had free will in whatever he did. So no matter what was going on in his life, if he's not willing to take accountability for what he did, his behavior is going to continue, because there is no apology without changed behavior. So a lot of y'all be making the decision whether or not this guy, to go forward with a guy based on whether or not he cried enough whenever he apologized. That's cute. He gave you a lot of emotion. His emotion is more so tied to his intentions. A dude will cry and express a lot of remorse because, his actions didn't reflect his intentions, or at least the impact that he had with his actions didn't reflect his intentions. What you got to look for is the key to his changed behavior going forward, and that starts with accountability. It's not a guarantee, but like I said, that's one indicator that, okay, maybe I can go forward with this guy. All right. Another way that this may be worth giving this a shot is if in trying to make things right, he doesn't put himself first. If in trying to make things right, you don't see him kind of forcing you to heal in a certain amount of time, to make a decision in a certain amount of time, to make him comfortable in the process of you figuring this out, especially whenever he's done something wrong, right? If you feel like, hey, this guy's being totally selfless, he's being patient, He's honoring the space that I told him that I need right now. We'll get to some of the other things in a minute, but he's doing what he's supposed to do. But as adjustments are necessary based on where I'm at from day to day, I don't feel too much pressure to do things his way. I say that's a good sign to move forward with this guy, to keep giving it another shot. Because again, in terms of an apology, the only real apology, which is changed behavior, he has to have a certain level of selflessness with that, because whatever behavior hurt you probably came from a place of selfishness. Now, another thing that I would say tells you, at least it's a good sign in terms of moving forward with a guy, is if he's been making tangible sacrifices. It ain't just been a whole lot of talk. You've seen things move around. You've seen a shift in how he prioritizes his time and how he uses his time. You've seen a shift in terms of how, like, whenever he's going out or whatever things that he used to do, he don't do anymore. And you've seen it over a matter of time. Because something I always say, I don't trust words. I even doubt actions, but I never question a person's patterns. If you've seen a pattern of sacrificial behavior, that's a man who's not so egotistical and full of himself and set in his ways that he's never going to change. That's, again, one of the keys to change behavior. He's truly ready to make a change, to make a difference in whatever it is. Like, you're worth whatever it is that he's losing, and he ain't complaining about it all day. That's a sign that, hey, this might be worth giving it another shot. And also, one last thing I'll say is this, because I was going to end it on that one. If you look at the situation and you can acknowledge, not that you did something to cause him to do what he did. Again, I'm a big believer in full ownership of our actions. But if he violated something that you didn't fully express to him was wrong, if this was a matter of a lack of communication, there's some things, yes, we should just know. Basic principles of respect, things that he wouldn't want done to him, et cetera, et cetera. But if whatever your particular situation is, you didn't communicate, you didn't stress the importance of something, you were triggered in a way that there was no way he could have possibly have known that you'd gone through something that made whatever it is that he did a complete deal breaker. Y'all had never really discussed it. Like it's possible he was operating from a place of ignorance. In that case, I say, not only should you move forward, but now you got to take some level of ownership over your communication to properly equip this man on how to properly love you. Because love is like a destination, and it's hard to reach any destination without the GPS, without the directions. So again, outside of blatant, just complete disregard of basic common sense principles of respect, if this is something really specific, he's touched on a hot button in conversation, something, and you're triggered beyond what most people would be triggered based on your past experiences, but you can't go back to what you've been through before, it may be a matter of communication on your end and ignorance on his end. And if he's still willing to be accountable for the impact that he had, even though he didn't mean to do whatever it is that he did, I say it's worth going forward. All of these are principles of healing together without hurting each other. Something I talked about in my book, Heal Together Without Hurting Each Other. And moderators, put a link down in the comments right now so those who want to go through this process with their partner and guide them into their healing journey can do so together. But moral of the story is this. There are situations where a man could be truly repentant, truly remorseful, all of that stuff. But it doesn't matter if it doesn't translate into action. That's the end all be all. Because you're not going to be protected by a man's love. I'm going to be real with you. Everybody want to over romanticize and glorify love. Look, love alone is not enough to protect your heart. It has to come packaged with respect. It has to come packaged with discipline. It has to come packaged with consideration. It has to come packaged with reciprocity, right? So whenever you're looking at whether or not to move forward with a person, you can't just go on love. Anybody can love you. But a love is only as good to consume as the vessel that it flows through, just like water. Again, something else we talked about before. Water is good for us. We need water. But if water goes through a rusty, contaminated pipe, it's probably not too good to receive anymore. If that love is going through a man who's not selfless, who's not willing to sacrifice some things in order to protect your heart, who's not willing to make adjustments and be accountable in whatever way he needs to be accountable, who's not willing to put you as a priority and what you need out of your healing process as a priority, that love ain't good enough to receive no more. So you need to look for what comes along with this man's love. Any man that wants to go forward with you is probably going to throw that L word out there. I love you. Okay, cool. But do you respect? Are you willing to be accountable? Are you willing to take ownership and responsibility? Are you willing to be consistent? Those are the questions that you're asking when you're trying to decide, should I move forward or not? Any man can cry you a river and pull out the doves and ask the R&B singers to come on and really stress how sorry he is for whatever it is that he did. He just didn't know, but now he knows. But do you see evidence of changed behavior? That's the real question. Now, I believe, and this ain't everybody's story, but I believe your best bet, especially whenever a guy is showing any type of red flag in this process of what should be the privilege of having an opportunity to get you back, that it is best that you run from any dude who's not willing to do what's necessary in order to earn you back so you can receive the guy who's already put in the work before he met you, a truly evolved man. You know, not somebody that you got to raise, not somebody that you got to go through the trenches with. You know, if you've been with a dude since y'all were young, 20 years old, or 19 or something like that, there may be some growing pains. I feel like after age 30 and you still meeting a new guy, there are certain things he's supposed to come equipped with in order to love you. Prerequisites, especially if you've been working on yourself. So instead of being the one that's the training grounds and learning all these hard lessons, like there's too many evolved men out here looking for good women in order for you to settle for guys who still have to be put together and made into men just to be the man in your life. There are evolved men out here looking for good women. And a lot of y'all already see in the comments, where are they at then? A lot of y'all are having less of a problem finding that evolved man and more of a problem, whether you know it or not, positioning yourself properly to be found. And there are specific strategies to position yourself to be found by an evolved man. If you want to know what those are, we went in depth in my training, Secrets to Making Evolved Men Crave You. And that training is getting ready to come down, but it's absolutely free right now. If you are in the market for an evolved man right now, you single, you really feel like you done cut the soul ties from the past, like you feel like you're ready to get positioned for an evolved man, I've given out these strategies to thousands of women that have been effective in having evolved men line up down the corner for women who've been single for forever. If you want those same strategies, click the link. It's pinned down here in the comments right there. And it's also in the caption whenever you back out. Get access to that free masterclass, Secrets to Making Evolved Men Crave You. You'll be glad you did it and regret it if you don't. But moral of the story is this. The only apology is changed behavior. The only indication or the only thing that you should be measuring as far as going forward with a man, because all of them ain't throwaways once everything kind of start going left. Don't get in the habit of just running at the first sign of trouble. But they are throwaway if their behavior says that they're not willing to protect you going forward. That's the evidence that you're looking for. Because somebody can talk all they want to. Somebody can do something nice for you for a second. But if their patterns are not backing up what it is that they're talking about, ignore what they're talking about and pay attention to their patterns. But those are just my thoughts. If you got anything from this, share this right now. And again, do not forget to get access to the free masterclass, Secrets to Making Evolved Men Crave You, where I break down how to position yourself for a truly evolved man who's already done the work and already prepared for you before he meets you. That ain't gonna waste your time. But